Alright guys, so some of you I've shown how to do this. I'm going to show you how to make high polys today. So this is a very basic way to do high polys, and we're just going to use this box as an example. In the next video I'm going to show you how to bake in Substance Painter with our cube that we made a high poly for. So all I've done so far is I've just made a box, and it's just a basic box, nothing fancy. This is going to be our low poly. I named my box box underscore low. Right. I'm going to go to my move tool. I'm going to hold shift and drag over to make a copy, and it's going to ask what I want to name this one. I'm going to name this box underscore high, because this is going to be my high poly. Okay. Now I'm just going to make a quick high poly, and so I'm going to select my polygon selection mode. I'm going to select all the faces. I'm going to hit insert, and we're going to do by polygon. I'm just going to drag this in like this. Now I'm going to hit bevel. I'm going to drag my height down on my bevel in, and then I'm going to do that one more time. Like that. Okay, so we're not done yet, but this is pretty much what our high poly is going to look like. We're going to bake this information onto my low poly. So what I'm going to show you is something called control loops, or control edge loops. And what those are is whenever I turn on, when I add a turbo smooth modifier to it, it's going to crunch like that, like a ball. What our control edge loops, whenever we put those in, it's going to keep its original structure form. So it's going to stay a box, and it's not going to crunch up like a turbo smooth or like a sphere. And we do that by putting edge loops on all of our edges, like these edges right here, the ones that we want to keep straight and not rounded. That's where we're going to put our edge loops. And so I can just click this edge loop right here and hit ring, and then I'm going to use connect. I'm going to do 2, and what we're going to do is we're going to drag this pinch all the way up like this and hit the check mark. So I'm trying to keep this edge right here straight, and I'm also trying to keep this edge right here straight. And you're gonna see when I add my other edge loop. So I'm gonna select this edge, I'm gonna ring it, it's gonna go all the way around, and then I'm gonna hit connect again. I don't have to drag my pinch up because I want it equally the same as our last connection. So it remembered my last connection, so I don't have to move it. I just hit the check mark. Okay, so let's test this. Whenever I turn my turbo smooth back on, you see that? Just by adding those edge loops in there. Now, we still have a couple more to throw in. So let's go. Nice rule of thumb is that you want to make sure, since this is a box or like a square right here, you want to make sure that all your edges are covered. So you want to put an edge loop right here. You also want to put an edge loop right here. So right here is good. But this one in here, if you look, when I turn the turbo smooth back on, we kind of lose that detail that's right here, right? So we fix that by selecting this edge right here and looping it. And then we're going to connect again. Right. I'm going to drag this one in a little bit, like that. And I'm going to do the same for this one. Drag that in just a bit. and this one too. Okay, so now when I do it, you see that? Kept all of my information the way I want it. So I gotta finish doing edge loops all the way around the same like I did with that one. So that this one can look like it all the way around. So I have to select this edge. I'm going to do a ring and then connect. Select this edge. I'm going to do a ring and then connect. I'm going to select this edge. I'm going to do a ring and then connect. And I'm going to believe that was 98. I'm going to hit yes there. I'm going to select this edge. I'm going to do a ring and connect. Drag that up just a little bit, or drag it down. Right there. Do another ring here, connect. Drag that down. So this one up here is good. This one right here needs edge loops, and I'm just repeating the process over and over again on each side. These edge loops are going to help your shape stay the shape that you want. With looser edge loops like this, it's going to give it a more rounded edge. You see that? Versus if I leave it tight, right here, it's going to give me a tighter edge. And I can show you a better example right here. So let me hide this, or isolate this. So I'm going to do one with very, very tight edge loops and one with very loose edge loops. So I'm going to select this one. This one's going to be our loose edge loops. Alright, you know you're good when you have these little squares on all the corners like that. This one's going to be tighter. I'm going to drag those up like that. Connect. Connect. Alright, we're good. Alright, so I'm going to add a Turbo Smooth modifier to both of them. And you're going to see a difference. See that? You see how crisp this edge is compared to this one? And that's just due to the placement of where I put these edge loops versus this one. See that? Same size box, but all it's doing, this Turbo Smooth, all it's doing is just rounding these edges. And so the tighter you put your edge loops to your original edge, then the crisper your edge is going to be. The further away that you put that edge loop, the rounder it'll be. And so that's all we're doing here. Is we're just trying to get that same look and feel with this one. So we just have to repeat this process a couple times. Once you get to more complex shapes, you're gonna really have to be conscious of your edge loops, because if you're not, it's gonna get really messy. Like even for me right now, I've added another edge loop I don't need. So that's why I really stress with you guys that you have some clean edge loops and some clean geometry, because once you start making your high poly models and you start baking and unwrapping, it's just a huge headache if your model isn't 3 or 4 sided polygons on it. If you have 6 or 8 sided polygons, then this just kind of gets really messy, and it just makes it really, really hard to make your high poly. Some of you that are taking Johannes's ZBrush class, you can make your high polys in ZBrush as well. This is just the 3ds Max like hard surface version of that. So if you're making more mechanical or hard surface models, you would use this method. And you can still bring in this model. Sometimes I do this method and I bring it into ZBrush just so that I can have a starting point when I start sculpting. So you can use this method and the ZBrush method as well. So that'll help give you a starting point. You have some geometry to manipulate in ZBrush, and you kind of already have like the very base model to start sculpting with. So this should be my last one on the bottom, and once I turn my Turbo Smooth back on, it should be good. Yes, look at that. That's what we want. It's beautiful. I'm going to turn up a couple iterations on my Turbo Smooth, and that'll just give it a more crisp look, right? And that's how you make your high poly. So the next video I'm going to show you guys, I'm just going to bake this onto this.